Hi everyone. In this final video, I want to cover the requirements for the final portfolio and talk a little bit more about what you need to be doing in that as you kind of finish wrapping up the course. So the final portfolio is an opportunity for you to reflect and think back on the work you've done throughout the semester on the different writing projects. And with that, also an opportunity to kind of think about what you've accomplished, what you've improved on throughout the semester, and what you think you still need to work on moving forward. Because writing is always a process. You're not going to have mastered everything in 16 weeks. So what are some things that you think you still need to kind of work on down the road? So the final portfolio is kind of designed as a portfolio to really showcase the body of work that you've completed throughout the semester. So the portfolio is going to contain several different things. So it's going to have a copy of each of your three major writing projects that you've written for the course: the rhetorical analysis, the community-based argument, and the scholarly argument. It's going to have at least a significantly revised version of one of those. It's also going to have a reflective cover letter at the beginning, a short permission slip, which I'll talk about, and then a revision letter after any essay you've chosen to revise for the final portfolio. And again, I'll talk about that more in just a minute. So all this is going to kind of come together and be submitted as a single file that I will be using to grade your final portfolio. And I will be evaluating it holistically. So I look at the final portfolio kind of as one big document, thinking about kind of how does it present the work you've done throughout the semester and do so well. So with that, I'm not going to go through each of these, but you'll notice on the assignment sheet that there's a list of 8 different course goals for English 300. And this is one of the 2 kind of sets of things you want to be thinking about and working on, reflecting on in your final portfolio. The other few things are the list of, or there's kind of 4 elements under the cover letter, and you'll kind of think about that as well. So I want to emphasize here that these are things to think about. You don't need to be doing these in terms of a checklist and have a short sentence or 2 on each one of these ideas. Instead, you're kind of thinking about all this stuff and then putting your own thoughts into a reflective cover letter that really is going to frame the portfolio. So in terms of the portfolio permission, so the English department uses these portfolios for evaluative purposes. So just kind of for us to think about what we're doing in English 300, how we can improve on that in the future, what's working well, kind of all those different things. And so one of the things that we ask you include is a permission slip, whether you allow for us to use your portfolio for evaluative purposes or not. So a couple of notes here on that. Whether you say yes or no is totally up to you. It doesn't, I am not invested. I don't care either way. It doesn't impact your grade in any way on the final portfolio whatsoever. So it's just kind of your choice. And if we do choose to use your portfolio for evaluative purposes, all personal information will be scrubbed from it. So nobody will know it's your portfolio. It's just kind of an anonymous portfolio that'll be submitted. So that's just something you need to include. A copy of it is up on D2L and in the template that's on D2L. And again, it's your choice, and I support whichever way you feel about it and whether you want to give permission or not. And again, it won't affect your grade in any way. So in terms of the only kind of totally new content you're really crafting for the final portfolio is the reflective cover letter. So this is at least a 750-word cover letter that really, it is what it says. It's a cover letter that's reflective and frames the portfolio for the reader. So again, this is where you're really kind of going back and thinking about holistically, what have you accomplished? What do you still need to work on? What kind of progress have you made? And so the cover letter should cover that list of 4 things. So thinking about what it is you've accomplished throughout the semester, what challenges you've struggled with but still improved on, where you think you can still grow or improve as a writer beyond the scope of this course, and then also thinking about what should your reader pay attention to when looking through your portfolio. So thinking about what particular papers, what particular moments are kind of great examples of where you've done these things well, or you've improved in your revisions, that kind of stuff. So you're both talking about your overall body of work as well as kind of the work you've done on each of the individual projects. So you want to talk a little bit about that as well, and kind of think about what was the progress you made on each individual project as you worked throughout the semester, as well as kind of, when you're thinking about the kind of holistic body of work that you're talking about here at the end. Now, one of the requirements for the final portfolio is at least one of your 3 major writing projects be submitted with significant revisions. So what that means is you should have taken the feedback you got from me on the final draft of a paper and then made significant quality revisions to the paper that's in your final portfolio. Now, this is only required for one of the 3 papers, but you have the option to revise up to all 3 of them. And as I've been saying throughout the semester, this is an opportunity for 2 things. So one, you obviously have to revise one paper for the final portfolio that goes towards the final portfolio grade. But for each paper you revise in the final portfolio, based on the quality of the revisions, it can also boost up the final draft grade on the paper itself. So if you didn't get a great grade or a grade you weren't happy with on the rhetorical analysis, and you took my feedback and you made a lot of revisions, did a really good job. Let's say you started to be, and I look at these revisions and I say, wow, okay, you really did a lot of great work, and I can bump it up to an A. So that is an option you have for all 3 of the major writing projects. So that's up to you. How many you want to do beyond the first, but I definitely recommend it. It is an opportunity to kind of think about, going back and making one of those or 2 of those projects stronger. Now with that, there's a couple of things you need to do. So obviously, if you're gonna, for whatever paper you're gonna revise, or if you're gonna revise all of them, you should go back to my feedback, think about what was working well, what you need to work on, and then make those revisions. So in the final portfolio, you will only include the final version of the paper, so the newest version if you're making your revision. You don't need to include the old one and the new one or anything like that. So with that, so you include the newest clean copy of the newest version of the paper, and then in the portfolio, directly after the paper or each paper you've chosen to revise, you'll include a minimum of a 150-word letter just detailing the revisions you've chosen or that you've made in the essays you've chosen to revise. Now, the revision letter is descriptive. It is literally just saying, here's the feedback I got, here are the changes I made, and how I think that made it stronger. It is just kind of a guide to say, here's basically what I did in revising the essay. So that needs to be included after each essay you choose to revise. If it isn't included, the essay will not be treated as revised and the original grade will stay the same. So if you do choose to revise 2 or all 3 of the papers, make sure there's a revision letter after each one that details the changes that you've made to the paper for your final portfolio. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, also, I do want to kind of point out as well that the boost in your grade on the papers is not guaranteed. So there needs to be quality revisions. If you change kind of 2 typos or minor things but don't address a lot of the glaring major issues, that's not going to change your grade in any way. So make sure if you choose that and you really want to boost your grade on those papers, that you're doing quality revisions. And as I've said, you're always welcome to, we can set up a time to talk about strategies for revising any of the papers if you want to meet and talk about that before you submit your final portfolio. So in terms of the portfolio itself, as I mentioned, it'll be submitted as a single file. So it can either be a Word document or a PDF for the final portfolio. Either is fine. And then you'll see on the assignment sheet, there's a breakdown. So the first page should be a cover page with your name, the title of the portfolio, the number and section of the course you're in, my name, and the date you're submitting it, as well as a title. The second page should be that completed portfolio permission slip that's up on D2L. You can just type out your name to sign it. You don't have to do a crazy thing where you download it, sign it physically, scan it, anything like that. It can just be kind of if you type out your name twice, it counts as digitally signed. After that, the next thing will be the reflective cover letter, because that's what the reader is going to look at, really is going to frame the rest of the portfolio. And then you'll need to include a clean, unmarked copy of each of the 3 major writing projects, the rhetorical analysis, the community-based argument, and the scholarly argument, in that order. And then the revision letter should go after whichever essay you have chosen to revise, or if you've chosen to revise 2 or 3, there should be a revision letter after each of those revised essays. So the portfolio should be, I just say usually kind of in terms of page numbers, keep it in MLA format so it's consistent throughout. the rhetorical analysis, the community-based argument should still be in MLA format for this final portfolio. The scholarly argument should again be in the format you chose to write that paper in. Otherwise, the formatting of the paper or the portfolio should remain the same as it does for the papers in terms of font, spacing, all that kind of stuff. So there is a rubric attached to the assignment sheet. This is kind of the overall rubric we use in terms of evaluating the SLOs for the course. So you can kind of look at that there, and that's how I'll be evaluating the final portfolio. Other than that, the only things I would say are you have a couple work days available before the final portfolio is due. Again, you have that option to revise those papers, and you can potentially boost your grades in the process. But really, if you have any questions about revising any of the papers about the final portfolio, please let me know. And yeah, the one other thing I would say, when you're writing the reflective cover letter, it's good to go back to the personal writing history you wrote at the very beginning of the semester and to your Unit 1 and Unit 2 reflections that you submitted after each unit, and kind of think about it, looking especially kind of the questions about your own process, what you've done for each project and what's kind of worked well, what you've done differently. I think that's a good opportunity to kind of check in at where you were at different points in the semester and think about, what have you done? What have you accomplished? What can you still work on? So if you have any questions, like I said, let me know, send me an email. I'm glad to set up a time to meet as we approach the end of the semester. Otherwise, good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.